Have you ever wondered why the United States is the richest country in the world and why you can use the US dollar anywhere you want? In this video, I'm going to explain why. Hi everyone, this is Ernesto from AttaBoyCowBoy, and in this video we give you financial tips and we give you explanations as to why some things are the way they are to help you make better financial decisions. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. So there are two main reasons why the United States is the richest country in the world, and their currency is the world reserve currency. The first one is the Bretton Woods Agreement. In 1944, after World War II, most of Europe and the rest of the world was in shambles because of the war. Everything was damaged. People needed money to rebuild. Japan was damaged. Europe was damaged. Africa was damaged. The Middle East was damaged. Everywhere there was carnage. It took a big toll on the whole world, and everybody needed to rebuild. So the country they had all the money was the United States, because we were producing a lot of arms, producing a lot of goods. We were basically supplying the resistance, all the countries that were fighting against Japan, Italy, and Germany. So that made us wealthy. Plus, after the war, they brought 44 of the heads of state over to Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, and they had a meeting that lasted about 3 weeks. And this was called the Bretton Woods Agreement. And basically they set a world monetary order, policy for the whole world. And in this order, because the United States had the gold and they had all the money, they set this rule where the rest of the world was basically going to use the US dollar as the world reserve currency. So let me explain what that means. That means that, let's say you're Japan over here and they want to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, they have to do that transaction in dollars. Or if Venezuela wants to buy potatoes from Ireland, that has to be done with dollars. Pretty much any country in the world that does trading, they have to do it in dollars. So what that allows is for the US to basically export paper in the form of currency. In return, we get cars, computers, oil, bananas, whatever we want. We send it to Japan, we send it to African countries everywhere. They send us gold, they send us real goods. And those real goods have more value, obviously, than paper. Because we have the power to produce that paper. Not everybody has that power. On top of that, other countries have to keep it in their banks to help maintain the value of their currency. So let's say you're South Africa and your rand is, I don't know, 40 rand a dollar. I'm not sure what the conversion is right now. And it starts to float up. Well, they're gonna adjust their interest rates and they're gonna buy more US dollars to maintain their reserves, to bring their currency down where they want it to be. Mexico, which is right next door, their currency is right around 18 pesos a dollar. Whenever their currency starts going up too much, well, they have to adjust their interest rates, buy more dollars, it brings their currency back down. And the opposite happens when they want to decrease or increase, they buy or sell dollars. That helps maintain some stability in their currency, because everybody wants stability, right? You don't want your prices going up and down. You want to be able to go and buy a Coca-Cola for $1 today and $1 next week. You don't want to go this week and pay $1, the next week pay 75 cents, then the next week pay $1.50, because that causes a lot of instability. If you're a business, it's hard to plan. It's hard to plan your expenses because you don't know what things are going to cost. So that's the problem when you have a currency that's jumping all over the place. Nobody likes that, and countries don't like that. So they use the dollar as a reserve to prevent that. So that's the first thing. That's allowed us to export paper and bring in goods from all over the world for nothing. The second biggest event that happened that was in our favor was the discovery of oil in the Middle East. That was done by John D. Rockefeller. Standard Oil. So you probably heard a lot about him. He was the richest man in the world. He was Very, very interesting person. If you don't know anything about him, it's a good person to read an autobiography on. But basically, he started Standard Oil of California, which today branched off into many companies. One of them is Union 76. If you ever see their logo, it's the big orange ball with the 76 on it. And they actually, they give out a lot of their hats and stuff at Dodger games. Okay, so Standard Oil discovered the oil over there in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and several of the Middle Eastern countries. They basically made agreements with them where they said, okay, listen, we own the oil, we discovered it, we have all the technology, we're gonna pump it, and we're gonna give you 10% and we're gonna keep 90%. So at that time, those countries were poor, and they said, sure, why not? We're not getting anything, now we'll get something. As time went on, they started getting wealthy, and they started buying chunks of their own oil reserves back. So instead of it being 90-10, it would start becoming 15-85, 20-80, 30-70, etc. Then it got to a point where they said, hey, you know what? We want to take over our own oil now. We want to nationalize it. We want to own it. It's ours. So the US government came in and the oil companies, and they said, okay, Saudi Arabia and some of these other countries, we're going to let you buy your oil, but you're going to allow us to build probably the largest military base in the world in your country. It's in Saudi Arabia. That's kind of like to hold a gun to the head to make sure that we can get oil whenever we need it. The second thing is that we made an agreement that all oil in the world would be traded in dollars, and that was huge because oil is the lifeline of the world economy. So some countries might say, hey, I want to buy potatoes from Ireland and I'm going to use my own currency, fine. But if you do that, you're going to get shut out of some of the other international agreements where you can trade for oil. Everybody needs oil. You can't function without it. So you need to be able to trade dollars and have dollars to be able to buy oil. If you're Argentina or you're Brazil or you're Kenya or any of these countries, they need oil to function. It's the basis of the world economy. Without oil, our earth could only supply enough resources to support 1 billion people. Our world population right now is around 7.5 billion, and that's because of oil. So it's good and bad. It's good because now you can feed and you can keep more people, happy with iPhones and nice shirts and everything else they want, and phones and laptops or whatever. But now you're overtaxing the planet. And that's why we're having all these problems with global warming. It's actually overworking the planet and it's destroying it. But that's a different issue. Now we have our dollars being traded around the world for oil and for everything else that's traded. So that's huge. When a country trades for oil, they're going to need the paper. So we're the country that supplies the paper. That's why we have these huge trade imbalances with a lot of countries. And a lot of people worry, wow, we have this huge trade deficit. Well, in the simplest possible form, there's a lot of explanations for it, and we can talk about that another time, but it really doesn't matter because it's a trade and deficit, but it's paper. The countries that are giving us all their stuff, they're the ones that have to worry about it because they're going to run out of gold or tires or aircraft or food or whatever it is they're sending to us. They're actually losing something that's an intrinsic value. It has something that you can actually use. Paper has a value, the money, but not really. You can just keep making more of it. So as long as there's trees, you can keep making it. So those are the top two reasons why the United States maintains its wealth and why it's such an important part of the world economy. Because the rest of the world needs it to be able to function. They need our monetary system. They need our dollars. Now with the rise of oil production, we're the #1 oil producer in the world. So as time goes on, that's going to add to our strength and it's going to add to our influence over the world. Anyway, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please write in the comment section. I'm happy to answer them. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.